Hey guys, it's Mel. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I would like to share with you a book haul. Before I start with the books though, I want to show you this dress that I'm wearing. The dress is made as though it were a bookshelf with all of the book spines. I got it in the mail last week. It's bookish, so I thought it should go in a haul video. I actually filmed a haul video last week as well, but it was huge, and so I thought that maybe I would actually split it up into two book hauls. So in this one I'm going to talk about all of the books that I have bought new, and then the second book haul, which I'll probably do in about 2 or 3 weeks, is going to be all the books that I have bought secondhand. So like I said, this book haul will be the new books that I've bought for myself probably in the last 3 or 4 months. So let's just get started. You probably know by now, but I'm a teacher and an early childhood educator, and as such it's actually quite difficult for me to go to a bookstore or look at books online without buying kids' books. So I have 3 kids' books that I have bought in the last few months, which is actually reasonably conservative for me, that I want to share with you. In a video that I uploaded to BookTube a few weeks ago, I talked about 3 books that I love to read aloud to children. One of those was Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus by Willems. And I mention that now because the first book that I want to show you is another book in that series, and that is The Pigeon Has to Go to School. Words and Pictures by Willems. I love Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. There's also a bunch of other ones, including Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Truck, and this just looked like a really fun book. It's all about the pigeon having to go to school and what the pigeon experiences when he's at school and just that sort of thing. So it's really great for kids that are a bit worried about having to go to school, and it's really lovely pictures, bright colours. Based on my experience of reading Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, I anticipate children absolutely loving this one. So that is The Pigeon Has to Go to School by Willems. The next 2 books that I want to share with you are 2 books by Gary Crew. They are picture books, but they are probably aimed more really at 8 to 12-year-olds rather than really young children, and you'll see why in a second. So the first one is The Water Tower, and the second one is Beneath the Surface. So The Water Tower is about 2 children who live in a small town in outback Australia, and on top of a hill in their town is this mysterious water tower, and no one really remembers when it was built or how long it's been there for, but it's been there for a really long time, and there's something sort of mysterious about it. And these 2 boys go one day to the water tower and go for a swim, and something strange happens. So one of the things I love about this book is that the pages actually change the way that you read it. So you read it first like this, and then about halfway through the story, the pages start to shift. So you get a new perspective. So now we're on a portrait, and then it starts to go this way. So I just think that's a really interesting way of illustrating and creating a book. I think it makes it really interesting for the kids. It's slightly unsettling, so that really adds to the atmosphere of the book because the entire book is slightly unsettling. Some of the illustrations are beautiful and really quite creepy. That's the bottom of the water tower, and up here we have the little hole where the child is climbing down, and just all the kind of tendrils of water as though it were reaching out. So the overall atmosphere of this book is really creepy, but you never really get told what's actually going on, but there's lots of hints in the images. So as you can see, there's always this spiral somewhere on the book. Always an image of the water tower, and there's the spiral repeating again in the illustration. And I don't know if you can see that guy's eyes, but very strange looking eyes, and actually that image just there repeats. It's not very clear on that particular page. It's a bit clearer here. Repeats in their eyes. So it's really creepy, but you never really get to the bottom of what's going on. So it's a really, really fantastic book for encouraging children to really explore what's going on, to explore the nature of stories and what they're actually trying to tell you, and explore atmosphere, and make predictions about what's actually happening in the book. So it's really wonderful. It's followed up by Beneath the Surface, and this is actually set, I think, 10 or 12 years later, and it's about one of the children that went to the water tower in that first book, coming back to that town, and there's something very weird still about the water tower, and he has become a scientist now, and he's come back to town because he thinks that whatever is going on in the world started here with this water tower. And you get that same repetition of the spirals. You get that same off-putting glance from all of the townsfolk in the images. Really creepy pictures. One of the really interesting things about this book is that none of the illustrations match up to the text. So all of the illustrations show you what's going on in the world at the same time as telling the story of what is happening with Spyro, who is this young man that's gone back to the town where it first started. And it's again not telling you what's going on, you actually are witnessing what's going on. So it's very movie-like, and I think that really appeals to children, especially these days, because they have so much technology at their fingertips, so much screen time, so it's really great to have something that is very cinematic, that will appeal to that part of them that really likes that. And the pictures are also just really well done, really fascinating, lots of depth, lots of creepiness. Creepy. So those two books were The Water Tower and Beneath the Surface by Gary Crew. I highly recommend these books for children from age 8 to really probably up to 15. They are picture books, so you may very well feel some resistance from children who are 12 and up, but once they actually have a look at the pictures and get an idea of what's going on, I think they'll really enjoy them. They're beautiful, fantastic, atmospheric books. Those were my 3 children's books that I wanted to share with you in this new book haul. The next books that I want to share with you are actually books that I own on my e-reader, so I'll be putting pictures up here of what they are. I won't go into a huge amount of detail about most of these because I've actually already discussed a lot of them in my September wrap-up, but I'll just go through them quickly because I did buy them in the last few months. So the first one is 3 Wishes by Liane Moriarty. Then we have the 3 Hunger Games books, so Hunger Games, Catching Fire and the Mockingjay. Then we have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which if you would have watched my September wrap-up, you will know that I absolutely adored this book. And I was quite pleasantly surprised because I wasn't really sure what to expect, so it was fantastic. I highly recommend it to pretty much everyone. Then we had The Killing Season by Faye Kellerman, which I didn't like very much. The next few books that I bought on the e-reader I haven't read, but I'll just go through them quickly again anyway. So one of those is the complete illustrated works of Sherlock Holmes. I'm not really sure when I'm planning to get to these. I won't go into a huge amount of detail. Most people have some idea of what Sherlock Holmes is and what they're all about. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading those. I particularly want to read The Hound of the Baskervilles, but again, I'm not sure when I'll get there. The next book that I bought is a book that I am going to read in December because it's part of my grade 5-6 readathon that I'm doing with my class at school, and that is Home by Larissa Berendt. So again, I won't go into any detail, but suffice to say that I bought that recently on my e-reader again. And lastly is a book that I read half of for the first task of the Tri-Wizard Readathon, and I will read the second half in the second task of the Tri-Wizard Readathon, and that is Little Women. So those are all the books that I have downloaded recently on the e-reader. And now on to physical adult books that I have bought new in recent months. And the first of these is The Goldfinch by Donna Tarth. As you can see by the fact that there's a bookmark, I have started reading this book and I got up to page 90 and then I stopped reading it. I haven't officially DNF'd this book. I'm quite interested in it. I quite enjoyed what I was reading, but I'm not sure what it is about Donna Tarth. I like her work, but I find her difficult to kind of continue reading, so I think it might be a pick up, read a book, put down again. So I'm not sure how long it will take me, but there it is, The Goldfinch. I'll just read the synopsis on the back. I think it's a bit of a difficult one for me to explain, and I think that probably the synopsis will do a good job of doing that for me. Age 13, Theo Decker, son of a devoted mother and an absent father, miraculously survives a catastrophe that otherwise tears his life apart. Alone and rudderless in New York, he is taken in by the family of a wealthy friend. Theo is tormented by longing for his mother, and down the years he clings to the thing that most reminds him of her, a small, captivating painting that ultimately draws him into the criminal underworld. So, it sounds really intriguing and really interesting. From here on in, I'm sort of trying to do this in order of what I purchased first and so on. So the next two books are books that I purchased probably at the beginning of October. And there is no real connection other than the fact that I went to a bookstore, an indie bookstore in town, and they both looked interesting, so I bought them both. So the first of these is Ladies in Black by Madeline St. John. Ladies in Black has been made recently into a movie, and I heard some really great things about the movie and I thought that it sounded interesting. I haven't actually watched the movie yet, but I have read the book now and it's really quite well done. It's quite interesting. I haven't rated it yet. I wouldn't say that it is my favourite book of the year. It's probably a pretty solid 3.5 stars, but I did really enjoy it. The setting of this book is a department store in the city of Sydney, and it's about all of the women that work in that department store or in a department of that department store, so selling women's dresses, and it's just about sort of their lives. And well, it's a few weeks leading up to Christmas in the early 1950s, I'm not sure which year, and it's just sort of about how their lives and what's been going on for them. And one of the women, her husband, disappears for a while, so that's all a big drama, and one of the women is very young and new to the job, and she gets befriended by one of the older women who is quite aloof and is considered something of a cantankerous, unkind, unfriendly old woman, but she befriends this young woman and sort of lets her into her inner circle, and that older woman is a Polish immigrant, so there's quite a bit of background into what it was like for Polish immigrants in Sydney in the 50s, which is interesting. Yeah, so it's a solid, interesting book. If you like, I guess, historical chick lit, then this might be a good book for you. And the next book that I want to show you is the second book that I got on that same trip to the bookstore, and that is Bridge of Clay by Mark Zusak. I have tried to get this sticker off, but it won't tear off cleanly. Anyway, I don't know a lot about this particular book. I bought it off the strength of having read The Book Thief, which I love and adore. I think it's beautifully written, really interesting perspective on World War II and Germany during that time. So I really enjoyed that, and I saw this book was another one of his, so I thought, well, that's enough for me, I'll buy it. So I'll just read the synopsis again to you. The Dunbar boys bring each other up in a house run by their own rules. A family of ramshackle tragedy. Their mother is dead, their father has fled. They love and fight and learn to reckon with the adult world. It is Clay, the quiet one, who will build a bridge for his family, for his past, for his sins. He builds a bridge to transcend humanness, to survive. A miracle and nothing less. So it sounds really interesting. I anticipate really enjoying it and finding it really nicely written. So looking forward to this one. The next 5 books are books that I bought from that same independent bookstore in town, and I probably bought them about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Again, there's not a lot that the books themselves have in common. They were just books that struck my fancy. So the first one of those you probably would have seen already in my Triwizard and December to be read, and that is The Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch. This is another book that I bought basically because of the synopsis on the back and the cover, and I really like this cover. It's carried on the other side as well, which is really cool. This line here is supposed to represent the Thames, and my guess is that it is red because it has something to do with the fact that it's a murder mystery, but I'll have to read it obviously to find out. So again, I'm going to read the blurb on the back for you so you get some idea. This is London as you've never seen it before, a city of wonders and terrors, a city of ancient secrets which is haunted by its past, a city where you are never far from magic, a city Peter Grant will help you discover. My name is Peter Grant, and I used to be a probationary constable in that mighty army for justice known to all right-thinking people as the Metropolitan Police Service, and to everyone else as the filth. My story really started when I tried to take a witness statement from a man who was already dead. And that just got me. It sounds really intriguing and set in London, which I love. It sounds like magical realism, which I love, and lots of fantastical elements woven into the real world, which is something I really enjoy as well. And I really like books where there's some kind of secret from the past that is coming up and affecting the current present, and people have to solve a mystery from the past. So I'm anticipating really enjoying this book. Yeah, so that was Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch. The next book is What Alice Forgot by Liane Moriarty. I love Liane Moriarty, as you probably know, and yeah, I'm just really excited to read a book by Liane Moriarty that sounds quite interesting. She has a really lovely way of creating characters and weaving the different characters' point of view and plot lines together to create really fascinating contemporary work. This next one is The Confession by Jessie Burton, and I bought this book because I saw Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts talk about it in either one of her to be read or one of her wrap-ups. I actually don't recall which one, so I'm just going to link her channel below. But yeah, it sounded like she thought that it would be really good, or that she already had enjoyed it. So it sounded quite interesting, and I thought that I would pick it up. Plus the cover is just absolutely beautiful. It's got that sort of foil on it in leaves, so it's nice and shiny. So it sounds like another book that is about a past situation that is affecting current situation, and it's sort of a mystery or a secret that needs to be solved or uncovered and will help with the present. So that's a trope that I really enjoy, and they just bring a lot of intrigue and mystery and interest, and it's always quite interesting to me. I quite like swapping backwards and forwards when it's done well, so I'm really looking forward to reading this book as well. This next book is Identity Crisis by Ben Elton, and this is another one of those books where I saw an author that I know that I like, and that was pretty much all I needed to grab it. So I know very little about this, but it sounds really interesting. And again, I'll read the blurb on the back for you. Why are we all so hostile? So quick to take offence? Truly, we are living in the age of outrage. A series of apparently random murders draws amiable, old-school detective Mick Matlock into a world of sex, politics, and reality TV. And a bewildering kaleidoscope of opposing identity groups. Lost in a blizzard of hashtags, his already complex investigation is further impeded by the fact that he simply doesn't get a single thing about anything anymore. Meanwhile, each day another public figure confesses to having misspoken and prostrates themselves before the judgment of Twitter, begging for forgiveness, assuring the public, that is not who I am. But if nobody is who they are anymore, then who the fuck are we? Ben Elton returns with a blistering satire of the world as it fractures around us. Get ready for a roller coaster thriller where nothing and no one is off limits. So that's the synopsis. I am looking forward to this book. I really enjoyed Ben Elton's comments on society. He writes those sorts of quite timely books that comment on the way that our society currently exists and the changes that are happening, and yeah, I think it'll be a really great book. The next book that I have to show you today is Angel Mage by Garth Nix. Garth Nix is an Australian fantasy author. He writes mostly middle grade and YA as far as I know, and I have read his Keys to the Kingdom series and his Abortion series, and I really enjoyed them. I think that he is a really fantastic fantasy author. He weaves his worlds really well, and he writes his characters really nicely, and the magic system is really well done and makes sense, is really believable. So I saw this and just thought, again, Garth Nix, I know I'll enjoy that one. So it sounds like it is actually set in an alternative 17th century where angels can be summoned and controlled by those with the talents for magic. So I'm assuming that it's going to be a story about an angel who is summoned and controlled for some kind of nefarious reason, and there will be some kind of hero that has to save the day, and yeah, so I think it'll be really interesting and enjoyable. The next book is a book that I bought basically because I really like the front cover. So once again, I was walking past that bookstore in town that I've mentioned, and at the front they have a little table where they have books for sale. I was not intending to go in on this particular day, but books for sale at the front of a bookstore, I couldn't resist really, and I found this one and I just thought it was gorgeous. The front cover, as you can see, I think, looks as though it were a tapestry, which I just thought was really interesting. I love the colours. I think it's really pretty. It's called Good Muslim Boy by Osama Sami. So I don't know a lot about this book. Again, I just picked it up off of the strength of the cover. I've not heard of Osama Sami before, and I hadn't heard of this book before, but it was on sale for $13, which is pretty good for books in Australia. Meet Osama Sami, a schemer, a dreamer, and a madcap anti-hero of spectacular proportions, whose terrible life choices keep leading to cataclysmic consequences, despite his best laid plans to be a good Muslim boy. By the age of 13, Osama had survived the Iran-Iraq War, peddled fireworks and chewing gum on the Iranian black market, proposed temporary marriage not once but 3 times, and received countless floggings from the Piety police for trying to hold hands with girls in dark cinemas. And the trouble didn't stop when Osama emigrated to Australia. As much as he tried to be a good Muslim boy, his father was the lead cleric in Melbourne after all. Life was short and there were beaches with girls in bikinis to skip school for, a medical degree to fake because the son of a cleric should become a doctor, and an arranged marriage to run away from because his heart belonged to someone else. Good Muslim Boy is a hilarious and heartbreaking memoir of love, loss and family. It's about what we'll do to live up to expectations and what we must do to live with ourselves. So yeah, it just sounds like it'll be really fun, and I like a book set in Australia. So, and this last book on my list, talking of books set in Australia, is actually set in Tasmania, which is where I live. It's called Pig's Head by David Owen. It's been quite a while since I bought this one. I actually bought it, I think, probably at the beginning of this year, but I wanted to share with you because, like I said, it was written by a Tasmanian author and it's set in Tasmania, and both of those things are reasonably rare on the world stage. There are good cops, there are bad cops, and there is Pufferfish, aka Detective Inspector Franz Heineken. Pufferfish, Pheroxodon multistratius, the ferocious pufferfish, gets its name from its tendency to attack people unprovoked, and it has been known to bite the toes off swimmers. A severed head rolls out of the rubbish in a crowded coastal Tasmanian caravan park, and the hunt is on for the killers, and for their victim, a man no one seems to miss, a man no one wants to know. As Pufferfish digs deeper, he runs hard up against mainland law and order, and the smell of corruption grows. Sounds really interesting. A friend of mine recommended this to me. She said that David Owens is a really fantastic mystery writer, and yeah, so I bought this one as well. So those are all my books that I've bought in the last few months new, and in the next few weeks I will be doing another haul which will be all the books that I have bought used in the last few months, so keep an eye out for that. If you have read any of these books, if you are interested in reading any of these books, please comment below and let me know. I'd love to talk to you about your opinions and what you're currently reading, any books you've hauled in the recent months, and yeah, just chat in general, so please do comment below. And thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel,